I remember the silence that followed the bombardments more vividly than the noise itself. The noise was constant, machines screaming in the upper atmosphere, the ground trembling with every kinetic strike, plasma fire cutting the horizon into shards of light. But silence, that meant survival. That meant, for a brief moment, the universe had stopped trying to erase us. My name doesn't matter anymore. I was one of the observers, the ones assigned to record and archive every encounter between our species and theirs. When the first treaties were drafted, I sat behind the glass and watched the woman who would change everything, Valara of the Sailthari Dominion. She wasn't like the others of her kind. The Sailthari were evolved beyond what we called biological necessity, luminescent skin that refracted light, eyes layered with shifting pupils, voices that seemed to hum in two tones at once. They thought in harmonics, not words. But Valara spoke human languages with unsettling precision. She had studied us long before the first invasion, long before the first shot was fired. And then there was him. The mortal she chose to Wednesday. His name was Commander Jalen Reed, and he was ordinary by every standard we had left, scarred from atmospheric burns, surviving on caffeine and synthetic rations, the kind of man who'd spent his life following orders. He didn't look like the kind of person who could alter the course of galaxies. Yet when Valara placed her hand on his and declared her intent to bind their lives together, both governments froze. Her people saw it as treason. Ours saw it as manipulation. But to the exhausted billions below the clouds, it was hope. They called it the Union Pact. The first and only marriage between human and Sailthari, meant to end the 30-year war that had scorched half the solar frontier. For a while, it worked. The Sailthari withdrew their fleets from Mars orbit. Human outposts stopped launching retaliatory raids. Trade resumed, cautiously. There were broadcasts of Valara and Jalen smiling under the twin suns of Kylian Prime, a barren moon turned into a neutral city. They called it the City of Peace, though everyone knew it sat atop layers of buried weapons. I was stationed there as a liaison, documenting everything for historical archives. I watched them from a distance. She glowed faintly even under the artificial light. He never seemed at ease, always scanning the room as if expecting betrayal. Peace, as we learned, is just war slowed to a whisper. 3 months into the Union Pact, the disappearances began. Sailthari scientists went missing. Human patrols reported strange distortions in time near the Wormgate stations. And then came the phenomenon no one could explain, the resonance fields. They started small. A hum in the air. A shimmer in the walls. Instruments would lose calibration. People described their dreams changing, visions of light cascading across dead planets, voices calling their names from deep space. Valara seemed disturbed, though she hid it. Jalen grew quiet, withdrawn. I remember finding him alone one evening in the observation bay, staring at Earth's reflection through the glass. "Ever think we pushed too far?" he asked me. "With the war?" I replied. "With existence," he said. "We're not supposed to touch the kind of power we've been fighting over." That was the first time I realized he knew something we didn't. The truth came out when the Sailthari Council accused him of theft, of taking one of their forbidden relics, a device said to hold fragments of a dead star's core. We dismissed it as political noise. But Valara didn't deny it. She simply said, if he took it, it was because he had to. By then, strange things were happening around him. Lights flickered when he entered rooms. Gravity fluctuated near his presence. Valara's energy field, the glowing aura that surrounded her kind, started to distort whenever he was near. Then came the night the convergence began. A Sailthari war faction broke the treaty and descended on Kylian Prime to retrieve the relic. The city went dark. Our communication arrays went offline. I remember the panic, the sky turning white as plasma beams cut through the clouds, the ground melting under bombardment. Valara stood on the balcony of the central spire, shielding the civilians below with an energy veil. Jalen stood beside her, unarmed, calm in the middle of chaos. I watched through the shattered glass of the command deck as a Sailthari dreadnought locked its weapon array directly on the tower. "Run!" someone screamed. Jalen didn't move. He closed his eyes. And the world bent. The blast never hit. Instead, Space itself rippled outward from where he stood. The dreadnought's hull fragmented, not exploded, but unwound, like it was being rewritten. The energy pulse expanded, erasing everything mechanical, everything artificial, everything that had ever been built for war. I saw Sailthari warriors frozen midair, their luminous bodies turning transparent. Human ships above us blinked out of existence. The sound was like wind turning into memory. When it was over, half the sky was gone, replaced by a silent void filled with threads of light drifting like snow. Valara collapsed beside him. Jalen was barely breathing. When we reached them, she whispered something in her native tongue, a word that later translators said meant forbidden union. Then she turned to me and said, "His opened the gate." We didn't know what she meant until the next day, when every long-range telescope across the sector picked up the same anomaly, a rift near Jupiter's orbit, stable, massive, radiating frequencies that matched no known spectrum. Inside the rift, structures. Moving. Something was coming through. Governments panicked. The fragile peace shattered. The Sailthari High Council demanded Jalen's execution. Humanity's coalition forces refused to surrender him, claiming his power could be our last defense. But no one could control him. He was in a coma, his vitals fluctuating with cosmic radiation. The relic he had taken, the star fragment, was fused into his chest, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. Valara refused to leave his side, despite her people declaring her in exile. I stayed as the appointed observer. What I saw during those weeks never left me. The rift grew. Sometimes, it spoke. Not in words, but in memories. Dreams. Visions of civilizations swallowed by light, of stars being rewritten into equations. Valara believed the relic wasn't a weapon at all, it was a key. A failsafe left by an ancient civilization that had once ruled this galaxy before erasing themselves. The Sailthari had found the fragments long ago but never understood them. Jalen did. Somehow, instinctively, he had activated it. When he woke, the first thing he asked was, "Did anyone else see them?" "See who?" I asked. "The architects," he said. "They were waiting. The coalition ordered us to evacuate Kylian Prime. The Sailthari prepared to strike. Valara begged him to destroy the relic before it was too late, but he wouldn't. "I've seen what's beyond," he said. "It's not death waiting for us. It's correction." We tried to contain him. We failed. On the 12th day, he walked out to the edge of the landing field, looking at the horizon where the rift's light turned night into day. Valara followed, pleading with him to stop. I followed too, unable to look away. He turned back once. "We wanted peace," he said. "But peace doesn't come from treaties. It comes when we finally understand what we are." Then he raised his hand, and the sky folded inward. The rift expanded, and for a moment, we saw them, colossal silhouettes of beings made of geometry and flame, their forms stretching across dimensions. Every instrument failed. Every sound ceased. Valara screamed his name, but he was already part of the light. The rift closed. That was 27 years ago. Kylian Prime is a graveyard now. The Sailthari have vanished from known space. The coalition collapsed into scattered colonies. But sometimes, at the edge of the system, our senses pick up strange echoes, energy patterns matching the day of the convergence. Some say Jalen became one of them. Some say he destroyed the architects before they could reclaim us. Others believe he's still out there, holding the gate shut so that we might live a little longer. I don't know what's true anymore. All I know is that every night, when I look at the stars, there's one light that doesn't move, a faint, steady pulse just beyond Jupiter's orbit. It blinks once every 8 seconds. The same rhythm as a human heartbeat. And sometimes, if the wind is still and the comms are quiet, I can almost hear his voice through the static. We're not alone. We never were. I just hope we stay worthy of the silence.